Thanks for joining us on the Bloomberg Business of Sports, where we explore the big money issues in the world of sports. I'm Michael Barr, along with my colleagues Scarlet and Damian Sassower.
And NFL league owners approved the sale of two teams selling 10% stakes to private equity firms.
That's right, Scarlet. The Buffalo Bills sold a 10% stake to Arctos Partners, and the Miami Dolphins sold a 10% stake to Ares Management.
And we're expecting a lot more similar moves down the road as more private equity firms look to get a foothold in sports. Here now to take us through the growth of private equity in sports is Velocity Capital Management founding partner David Abrams.
We're also joined by Texas Permanent School Fund CEO and CIO Bob Borden, who recently invested into Velocity's flagship opportunity fund.
David, Bob, welcome to the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Thank you for having us.
I'm going to start with David, if I may, the Velocity Capital Management founding partner. This must be great news because we're going to see more and more of this, of the capital of the small equities coming in, and eventually maybe we can afford some of these big old $2, $3, $4 billion teams.
Well, we are both humbled and grateful for our partnership with Bob and the Texas Permanent School Fund Corporation. Bob will talk a little bit about our history and some of the things we've done together, but we really believe that this is the first time that we've seen where an institutional allocator has said, we don't want to just invest in a specific fund and be in private equity or credit, but we want to build a platform to take advantage of the disruption and commercialization we're seeing across the broader entertainment, sports, and media ecosystem. And with the partnership we have, we think that we can be, an operationally intensive partner for the middle market, where we believe there's, the most attractive risk-adjusted opportunities.
So, Bob, let me bring you into the conversation. What have you seen take place in this sector that convinced you that you want to bring the Texas PSF into this part of the business? Was it a specific deal? Was it a specific sport?
Well, when I look at it over a long period of time, this really evolved from, franchises that were owned by dynasty families for decades on end, and really the revenue sources were primarily around, cable television contracts. And, now we have a brave new world of all kinds of delivery of the experience, not only through media and streaming, but through surrounding entertainment and functions broader around the entire sports event. And it's really a disruption of an ancient model that is creating a world of opportunity, and it's still in its nascent stages of what are ultimately going to be the best mechanisms to monetize the entire experience. And David's assembled a top flight team, and David and I have experience going back to the great financial crisis that has given me great confidence in his ability to execute. And I think that it's a good time to really assemble teams and back them with capital while there is this consolidation opportunity in this sector.
Well, Bob, our audience, we know David all too well. We know him from Harris Blitzer and Apollo. I mean, forget about David. We want to hear more about you, and we need to bring you in properly. You're the CEO and CIO of the $52 billion beast, the Texas Permanent Fund, and you're investing in a sports-focused private equity fund. And I'm going to pitch a softball, Bob. I really am here. Collar Capital saying 81%. They surveyed $1.9 trillion in assets under management, pension funds like yourself. 81% reported the risks of sports funds are too great to invest in these trophy assets, as you put them. Talk to us about what makes Velocity different in your mind.
Yeah, well, the risks of doing it with the wrong team are certainly high, and I that's not a pun. I mean the wrong management group. This is somewhat analogous to the early days of internet search engines. And there was a lot of viable ideas and competitors, but once the industry really coalesced. You had two or three obvious leaders. It's also a very bifurcated industry, where at the very top you have these multi-billion dollars. You said earlier 2 or 3 billion. I think the check sizes now are going to be 5 to 10 billion certainly for NFL franchises, and that's hard to play in because they're big checks and very illiquid. But all of the infrastructure in and around major sporting events is got a great opportunity for consolidation and scale. And Velocity's put together a really good team. My experience with David dates back to the financial crisis and really exploiting the opportunities in non-performing loans in Europe. And I saw the way that he and his team were able to execute. And knowing that in that interim time, he was a key figure running the Harris Blitzer enterprise, I think it is really positioned him well to capitalize on this opportunity set. And in my mind, the risk is involved in backing the wrong team or some firm that's trying to do this just as an adjunct to other things they do, or in a more really venture fashion. And this kind of mid-market area, I think, is where the risk-adjusted returns are very attractive. And we're investing in teams that have deep experience and have some traction. And really what we're doing is unlocking their skills by trying to solve the capital puzzle for them so they can focus on value creation more than capital raising.
Well, Bob, I think you hit the nail on the head here. You're not buying a sports franchise per se. You're buying into Velocity and their holdings like Pirella Motorsports, Elevate. David, tell us a little bit about what's going on with X Games, some of the portfolio holdings, how the fund is structured, and what lies ahead.
Well, I think Elevate is a perfect example of this partnership and why we're so excited. There was some news out the other day about both Velocity and Texas Permanent School Fund and Levy putting significant capital on the balance sheet. But I think one of the big differentiators of this partnership is how Texas Permanent School Fund is not just a typical asset allocator. And the reason I'll bring that up is we have the ability to provide holistic solutions to various intellectual property rights holders. And if I think about Elevate, one of the big initiatives for us as a company is what the disruption is going to lead to in college athletics. And so there's lots of different ways to figure out how to work with the university, whether it's the NIL space, whether it's helping build the stadium, whether it's helping monetize their ticketing inventory. Elevate can do a lot of different things, but Texas Permanent School Fund can provide capital that's private equity oriented, credit, real estate. And I'll let Bob talk about the last point, which is the name permanent is there for a reason, because it's permanent capital where you can hold an asset for 30 years. There's very few examples of other investment firms who have access to that capital, and that allows us to solve problems for rights holders. Bob, I'll let you talk about why we're so excited about that aspect of the partnership.
Well, it was mentioned earlier what our peers do. We're the largest educational endowment in the country, and actually knocking on $60 billion today. The lessons that I learned over the years when you've got good partners in investment firms, and I think that where my peers have left a lot of meat on the bone is putting everything in boxes, hiring talented firms to manage one, very narrowly defined aspect of the fund, and, kind of report back on that. And I found that, there's incredible talent at some of these firms, and they're doing a lot of interesting things, not just the little slice that you may have hired them for. And necessity being the mother of invention, in the mid-2000s, I was tapped to run the South Carolina Investment Commission. It was $35 billion, and I was hired and given an attorney and an admin and said, build a cutting edge endowment style pension solution. And I realized that we were going to have to really leverage partners a lot more than have traditionally been done. And by providing more free-form capital that can be put to use in not only in funds, but in co-investments, direct investments, both in debt and equity and real assets, seeding platforms, et cetera, a much more fungible form of capital that makes you a true partner with that group is a key to success. It's a way to access a lot of opportunities. And using those lessons along with the experience that I had with David, I see this space as ripe for development. Consolidation is almost a late stage word. This is still very nascent in some of the technologies and other services in and around entertainment, just not only the hospitality, but the branding and naming rights and a lot of these things. And those who figure it out and can do it at reasonable scale, will come out ahead. And so what we want to be able to do is have this fungible capital to back a variety of opportunities that come out of the greater velocity platform, of which I expect and are already seeing evidence that they're going to be numerous.
So, David, can you give us some more of an idea of what specific opportunities look like as we head into 2025? I think about the college space because Velocity focuses on middle market companies. So we're not talking NFL teams, right? That's no longer middle market.
Correct.
But if you're talking about businesses or opportunities within college athletics, obviously that space is growing by leaps and bounds. You have Bill Belichick, who led the Patriots to multiple Super Bowl victories, now joining the University of North Carolina's football team. College athletics is becoming more and more professionalized. It's no longer going to just be middle market anymore.
Well, I think the Belichick announcement is interesting, but it's a lot more than just hiring a football coach to build the football program. UNC is...
What do you see then, starting with Bill Belichick joining UNC, and what kind of opportunities does that open your eyes up to?
Well, I think it's a perfect example of, like you said, college athletics. You can use the word professional sports, but they're entertainment and media businesses. It just so happens that the talent is also going to get a college education at the same time. Bill Belichick is a way for North Carolina to build a global brand, which will attract athletes, which drives the revenue generation of the intellectual property rights of University of North Carolina. So when people want to come to North Carolina now, I get access to one of the most successful NFL coaches of all time, his network of contacts around the world. So if I'm coming to play, they have a fantastic women's soccer team. I'm going to get access to Bill Belichick. Maybe he can help me build my brand. And that is where college sports is going. You just saw the example of what happened at University of Michigan, where all the resources was Tom Brady and Dave Portnoy were put into attracting talent for the university. It's the same exact reason why this happened at North Carolina, because it's a way for them to present an opportunity to talent that other universities can't match.
I want to go to, I know we're running out of time, but I want to go to something that Bob said, if you can explain more of it. You said Velocity needs operating partners while the school needs capital partners. Can you explain that more?
Well, yeah, our purpose in life is to provide a perpetual stream of earnings to fund public education in the state of Texas. We're a 180-year-old enterprise that was founded at the beginning of the dawn of the state of Texas, as pivoted from a republic. And the founding fathers of Texas had the foresight to say education is going to be critical for the state's success, and we're going to set aside a lot of the largesse that we've acquired in the form of millions of acres of land that presumably, you could get revenue from timber or cotton or cattle grazing. Little did they know the great majority of that was sitting on top of the Permian Basin, and has, been a perpetual source of cash inflows. We are able, therefore, to invest with a very long-term view of creating franchise value over time. I think one of the problems in the industry of institutional investing for pensions and endowments has been the fund format that has a 10-year contractual life, and you have these great entrepreneurs that are building platforms that are creating enterprise value, but around year 7 or 8, they're kind of forced to go sell the firm to monetize it to get everybody liquid, and that happens regularly for firms that might have 40, 50 year plus lives, but every 7 or 8 years they're having to go through a liquidation event. That's a distraction. That's a huge cost. It erodes a lot of enterprise value, and being able to invest with a much more open-ended view is an advantage for both the capital provider and the investment partners.
And Bob, I want to expand on that. One of the areas about this partnership is that because of this capital and the connectivity with Texas Permanent School Fund, the state of Texas, we can actually drive value for our portfolio companies that I've never been able to see in this industry in my past. So I'll give 2 examples, Damian, related to what you asked about the portfolio. So we are the controlling shareholder in a location-based entertainment business called Camp, which licenses intellectual property. It's really for young children and families. And we're opening our second location in the state of Texas in Houston in about a month. Well, the Texas Permanent School Fund Corporation's sole purpose is to provide funding for the K through 12 school system in the state of Texas.
Synergy.
I have done this for a long time, and when I worked at Apollo, we had some unique competitive advantages. I put this at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Second example, talking about the disruption in college athletics, Elevate, which is an investment that both ourselves and Texas Permanent School Fund have a large stake in. And if you recall, when I was at Harris Blitzer Sports, I was part of the group that founded Elevate 8 years ago.
Yep.
And so the college space is one of our biggest initiatives. We have a very big secondary ticketing platform, one of the biggest in the college football space. So we work with the rights holder, UNC, for example, and help them monetize their tickets, primarily football or basketball, in the secondary marketplace. Well, given what's happening in college sports, a ticket is a piece of inventory. It's an asset they're trying to sell to bring talent in to grow their media rights. Well, imagine if you could walk into a university and say, this has been great to do this year over year. We'll give you X amount of dollars for the right to monetize your tickets over the next decade.
Wow.
There's very few organizations that could compete with what we are willing to offer to universities because of Texas Permanent School Fund's capital.
You know, Michael Barr, I got to just say, it's amazing that Bob Borden didn't come to New York State teachers retirement system, because then David, then we'd be getting some like Yankee fans, Jet fans. Instead, it's going to all go to Texas. It's going to be go Darrell K. Royal, Memorial Stadium. It's going to be right in their backyard, and we lost it. We lost it up here.
Well, see now, Bob, this is when you can set the trend, man, and help
Come
us,
on up.
man. Right now, Damian, Scarlet, and I, we're going to invest in marble racing, and that's about it. But see, you guys are really setting the trend here.
We have a couple of key people on our staff from the New York retirement system, and my president and deputy chief investment officer, Stu Bohart, was former president of Morgan Stanley Asset Management and partner at Fortress. So we're recruiting from New York, I can tell you that. David,
not the same thing, though.
But
we have an ace in the hole with no income taxes in our state.
Helps.
David didn't mention that this activity on monetizing tickets is already something that Elevate's been doing with the University of Texas and Texas A&M, so you can connect the dots there.
Yeah.
And to say the NFL is maybe too big of a ticket, there's still a lot surrounding that, where Elevate was responsible for the naming rights for the changed from FedEx Field to Northwest for the Commanders now. So that's just an example of there's an entire opportunity set in and around those franchises for supporting services that has incredible growth opportunity. And if you can scale it, I think the success becomes success. And let's be frank, college football is now professional football. It's different than any other. It's not a feeder league or farm team like you think in baseball. Arguably college football's popularity and eyeballs and just loyalty is on par and perhaps even higher than the NFL. Yeah. So it's a just phenomenal, once in a generation opportunity to figure out ways to roll out a holistic entertainment and promotional solution for college sports. And folks like Bill Belichick realize that for sure. So this is a beginning. We're on the front end of, I think, a new frontier in college athletics, and Velocity and Elevate and others are well placed to take advantage of that. And we haven't talked about, and I know we have time constraints here, but in the motorsports world, things like Pirelli Motorsports are involved in, and Elevate's involved in the promotion of Formula One in Texas and MotoGP in Texas, and we have this first-class facility, the Circuit of the Americas, which has hosted Formula One in the U.S., for now 15, 17 years, I think, and was responsible for bringing Formula One back to Texas.
Bob's not telling you that he, in his spare time, likes to race cars. I think that might be for the next discussion.
Yeah, it's bubbling up, isn't it?
Oh man, you got a fellow motorhead over here, man.
That's right.
Really? What is your favorite, man? If you and you get in a car?
Oh boy.
What? My favorite form of sports? My favorite car?
Favorite car.
Okay, I've had over 100. My children can answer this question. You asked my third grader, what's your dad's favorite car? The next one.
We run a full service show, folks, man. No half step in here. David, Bob, man, what a pleasure to talk to you guys. Thank you for joining us on the Bloomberg Business of Sports.
Thank you for having us. We look forward to coming back.
The pleasure is ours.
Our thanks to both Velocity Capital Management founding partner David Abrams and Texas Permanent School Fund CEO and CIO Bob Borden for joining us. And thank you for joining us. For my colleagues Scarlet and Damian Sassower, I'm Michael Barr. You're listening to the Bloomberg Business of Sports from Bloomberg Radio around the world.